Alright, so time for another one of these. So, the most striking thing to me is the way that this 1.0 terrarium has really taken off. Or at least this clover has really started to grow pretty well. You can also see some really pretty intensive mold growth on some of the old dead grass in the background. So I think this is pretty nice to see that there's different stages, like a whole succession going on in this bottle, with new growth over here, something just sprouting over here, and then death and decay rotting away in the back, and a really pretty healthy algae mat growing in the soil. In fact, there's even some like filament algae growing up along here, maybe along the edges of something dead. In fact, these bottles seem to be a lot better than most of the others because we can see this one doing interesting things as well. Oh crud, I'm already out of battery. So the onion has grown all the way up into the lid. I don't know if it's really visible here, and started to squish itself back down around the base. And the creeping vine has kind of come along around the side of it. And it's not doing all that great. It's got a lot of brown around the edges of its leaves, but it is shooting out new growth, and that's what I like to see. And there do seem to be some bugs of some kind. It's hard to see through the condensation, but actually those might be mushrooms. There's some little white dots of something that I can't really make out in there. But there's interesting things happening in this jar, and that's what I'm hoping for. In this one that just had the moss and the little tree, well, I think it's a little tree sprout. The tree sprout is not doing too hot, but it's not dying either. The moss, I'm not sure if this is how I put it in. Possibly this thing fell over and maybe things got shook up, but it seems to have climbed on top of the rock and be kind of jammed up into the roof. So I don't know if that indicates that it's actually growing and pushing itself around a little bit, or if it just, I've had it perched up here on the other jar and it's possible it fell off at some point, although I would have thought things would be more disturbed if that's what happened. So we'll keep watching that and see if maybe there's some signs of actual life from the lichen. And then in this old pickle jar, again, the chickweed doesn't look too hot. There's a dead pill bug over there. Actually, yeah, but the oak leaf creeping vine in this one is just doing amazing. It's bright green. It seems to be growing. Seems to be putting out new creepers. So that's a good sign. Although there is a little bit of deadness at the end here. But we'll see. I think it's got plenty of room, it's got plenty of water, it's got plenty of soil, so it's going to do all right for a little while. And plenty of light. And in here, where we planted nothing, there's a little sprout at the base here. Still these, I think they're nematode worms. They might be dead too, because they seem to be in the same place they were last time I checked a week ago. Nothing else is happening in there though, so I won't dwell on it. And then I opened the lid of this during the rainstorm yesterday, and it seems to have completely filled with water, so I'm going to have to pour this out. And that's a two-hand job, so I'm not going to be able to film it. So that's all in the backyard for today. Thought I'd also point out something that's a little bit unrelated to the terraria, but I have these potatoes that I've planted out here in the backyard. And unlike most people, I haven't cleared a bed for them. I just dug little holes in my lawn and left all of the grass remaining around. But what you can see is that this clover type stuff has grown up in the disturbed areas around the base of the potato where I did clear out the grass. So it's something interesting to note, the collection of plants that do particularly well in the disturbed ground versus how things go, in the kind of older parts of the succession. You can also see the grass kind of at the base tends to die off like we saw in the jars, so maybe it seems to have needed 6 or 7 inches or so of clear headroom, maybe more, and everything below that tends to die. So, and really, I mean, this will grow up to like 2 feet or something if you don't mow it, so it probably needs a container about that size to survive without all dying off like this around the base. In the kitchen. So first we're going to look at the 1.1 jar. It's going to be confused with this can I put it on top of, so I can't really get it out, at least not with just one hand, and I need the other to hold the camera. So not much change. There's a little bit of dirt on top of the leaf somehow of the creeping fig. I don't know what to make of that. How'd it get there? Was it always there? Did some critter track it up? Who knows? Otherwise, it seems to be doing all right. There's some condensation visible on the leaf itself. Of course, given that it's been 2 weeks since I decided there's probably too much water in here, and it's still alive and doesn't seem to be rotting, I think that's pretty good. The lichen looks unchanged as always. Probably ought to go back through some of these old ones and see what it looks like there to see if it's maybe gotten bigger or something. Or not. And I don't see anything else really going on in here. Nothing noticeable in the soil. So, as for the others, really, this is the only one with anything interesting, and it's not really a good thing. It's just that little sprout that we saw in the last update has now evidently died. It's tiny, so it's hard to pick up on the camera. But if you look closely in the center here, you can see where it touched the glass, immediately got wet with condensation and rotted. So it's still alive at the base, but I don't think it's going to, stay alive for much longer. There's a little upside down pillbug in there. I don't know if he's just holding on like that or dead. Everything else is unchanged, and since it's all lichens, can't really tell if it's alive or not. In here, in the Huggleswag jar, everything's the same as usual. Even the condensation on the leaf doesn't seem any different. So, still nothing interesting in the soil. It's basically totally static. In here, again, nothing new, basically dead. And in the pickle jar, we have, this one little sprout has grown up high enough to probably get sick and die, just like everything else. Otherwise, I don't see anything new in here. Well, I guess there's a little sprout over here, which might be a little new. And there's some algae. I think if I put this outside and let it get some sun... Oh, well, there's some little bug creeping around on the inside. So there's some animals in there, but they're probably just eating all the dead things. And that can only go on for so long before all the dead stuff has been eaten, and then everything perishes. So, honestly, that looks pretty healthy on the camera, but in person, it does not. Yeah, so not a lot of real interest in here. The stuff inside doesn't get enough light. I think a different set of plants would need to be chosen if we were going to get it all to survive. Okay, so taking a look at the front yard, I think this will be short because there's not a whole lot to see, or not a lot has changed. Notwithstanding the fact that everything got rained on, but that doesn't affect anything inside the jars since, they're sealed off. This one, not much changed since the last time we looked at it. It might be bleaching a bit on the leaves. There's sort of kind of a lighter pattern. It's difficult to see through the condensation on the jar. This is probably the best perspective on it, if the camera will focus anyway. So there's a little bit of yellowing, but on the whole, not much change. It, I think, has grown taller. It's closer to the ceiling of the jar. But other than that, I mean, I guess that's something to note. It is growing, I think. But nothing really exciting going on in here. This jar, basically still dead. Easier to see what's going on, at least, since there's not as much condensation in there. Not seeing the real extensive mold growth that some of these had, though, or that the ones in the backyard have developed. And then this is the last one. It's less healthy than the backyard jars. There's clear browning on basically every surface. And it's really just completely stuffed the inside there. But that's not new. And that's basically all there is to see in the